Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I think you'll agree, 3 fantastic presentations. I'd like to thank each and every one of our panel for fantastic information we've received. So we've received some questions, and we are going to have a discussion here on the panel in connection with the production of soybeans. We know that we've just had a record year, record season. The most soybeans that have ever been produced were produced this past season. But we also know that predictions are that the population of our country will double in the next 30 years. So if you think carefully about it, in 2050, there will be an additional 60 million people that we need to feed in our country. And there's not much more land available than we currently have. We'll have to be much more efficient, and our production will have to be ramped up much more in these coming years to be able to provide for the people of our country. So in connection with the questions, the first question, Lisa, was directed towards you. Somebody asked if a farmer needs advice or support with the disease in his soybeans. How do they go ahead? Who do they have to contact? What do they have to do? Can you perhaps give some information?
Yeah, sure. So thank you for the question. I think it's a very important question, and Jane also touched on the fact that, you know, we need to have access to this knowledge. And I think the first place potentially to go to would be grassroots. Go to people that you know have had past experience in and around your area. So speak to other producers, because they can also assist with being able to connect you to who needs or who can assist you further. So first step is use the network you have around you. The second step would be to potentially contact someone that's at the Agricultural Research Council or at the universities in your growing regions. So I know that at the University of the Free State we do not have a diagnostic clinic yet, but I am aware that the University of Pretoria have a diagnostic clinic. So this is something that I think needs capacity building in South Africa. And I think if I look at plant pathology as a discipline, we definitely need to encourage more students to participate in plant pathology, but also to be aware that if you're an agronomist, that makes you a plant pathologist too, because we have the disease triangle. Diseases aren't only biotic, but can also be abiotic factors. That's really important to keep in mind. Your issue that you're seeing or the problem you see in the field might not be biotic. It may be associated with the production system that Dr. Andreas spoke about earlier.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for that. Dr. Dreyer, the next question is to you. There's a lot of interest in soybean production for the coming season, and there will be a number of new farmers who have never planted soybeans before who are going to try their hand at soybeans. If you have to give advice for somebody planting soybeans for the first time, which are the 2 or 3 most important aspects they have to attend to be able to make a success this coming season?
Mr. Chairman, first of all, he needs to have the best cultivar. To have the best cultivar, you have to be within this maturity group, which is fit for your specific area. And you'll recall, you know, on the presentation, basically we got three different groups. You know, there's in South Africa, the cool areas, the moderate areas, and the warm areas. So first of all, you have to sort this out. It will be pretty easy to do this. Once you are there, then you need to plant a cultivar well adapted to that specific area. And let me say immediately, don't plant only one cultivar. If I'm in a new person's boots, I would surely go for at least, not a mixture, but, you know, plant at least 3 cultivars to give you more leeway in terms of what may happen with the, you know, the climate and the rest of it. You have no prediction possible as far as I'm concerned. So I would go for a cultivar, and I think I pretty much pointed out that cultivar choice is of paramount importance. And then the other one is just don't plant one cultivar alone. The next thing is, if you want to have any yield or hope for any good yield, then the new producer must really carefully watch the entire process of to put the the bacteria down for nitrogen fixation. If your inoculation is of absolute prime importance. If anything goes wrong, I mean, you can't really cure that specific problem, because you can apply a normal inorganic fertilizer, but problem is it is too expensive. I mean, you would really not make a profit whatsoever. So I think take care of what you do with your nitrogen fixation, and just each and every step, just be there. Your footsteps in the field is vitally important if you like to plant soybeans. That is vital. If I can add a third one, which is a rather late at this point in time, the pH is absolutely vitally important. It's paramount importance to have a good pH, but it's almost too late this season to put in some lime and to still make a success of the situation. But if you take good care of the two first things, cultivars and how you sort of treat your nitrogen fixation, that means how you are going to inoculate your plant or your seeds, I think you are in good shape already. And may I add to what Lisa said, the one thing that I will really sort of recommend to all new farmers, please go ahead and consult your fellow farmers around you. They got experience, they've made mistakes, and they will pay the school fees for that specific situation. That will help you tremendously.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Jan. Jane, a question to you. I'm a developing farmer and I'm very interested in planting soybeans. I don't know anything about it. Where can I get assistance to plant soybeans this season?
Thank you, Chairman. Coming back to what Dr. Jan is saying, quite often one wants to plant a crop, you get excited. But if we haven't done our soil sampling and we don't know what our pH is and we don't know what our phosphate levels are, maybe you need to think about that first. And then immediately I would assume that you might be needing a production loan and so on. So your nearest agricultural business, you can speak to the commercial banks, you can speak to other service providers and commodity organizations in your area. There are active people, and find out from them what sort of support is available, because it's not only knowledge, it's also practically in terms of have you got the mechanization and the planters and the financing to do it. But there are opportunities, but don't rush in very quickly if you haven't done a bit of homework on it.
Okay, very good answer, thank you. Lisa, another question to you. You've mentioned a number of diseases, but what would be the most common disease in the SA production areas in the West and in the East? And as a farmer, how can I effectively manage them?
Right, so that's a very challenging question to answer. And I dare say, but I think maybe what I'm going to say is that I think we need to maybe look at, and I probably sound like a suck record, at our soil health and pathogens associated with poorer soils, because this is something that without having to additionally add pesticides, if we have healthier soil, we can also mitigate, whether you're in the East or the West, that you have a better growing season. And this goes ahead with the whole, getting excited, rushing into things. I'm also that, when I first hear about something, I'm like, oh, I really want to do this. And, do your homework. Go and see what are the issues, that are most prevalent in your area. Because when I just look at Sclerotinia, it is so sporadic. And I think most diseases are sporadic. But those that are in the soil are permanent. Because of their ability to survive. And if you look at the rotations, you're also maize, soybean rotations. You have fusarian species that can affect both. And they survive in the soil. So it's not necessarily about what's more prevalent where, but being aware of the sporadic nature and what is present, and to what level, what kind of threshold do you have on your farm or in your region to make a decision that's still a healthy economic decision for production?
Okay, thank you. The second part of the question, is there a difference between diseases in the eastern side of the country and the western side?
I would guesstimate yes, and the reason why I say that is we actually need to have an updated survey of, or a database that correlates what South African research has been done from the earlier years until now. I mean, Sclerotinia was first reported in the 1950s on apricots. Do we still see Sclerotinia on apricots today? So the question about the East and the West is, we probably are definitely going to see differences because we know there's an East and a West, and the reason why they are separated is because of the types of soils, the types of climates, types of producers. And so I think what we need to keep in mind then is, how can we move from what we knew to what we know to what we need to know going forward?
Okay, thank you. Another question for you, Dr. Jan. Marion Delport's asking, are some cultivars more suitable for processing into products for human consumption? Soybeans are notorious for their beanie taste. Are some cultivars worse than others?
Mr. Chairman, I think I wouldn't be able to answer that specific question. I think it is one of these things that I think the people working with human food will probably be the people to really consult. I'm not aware of how this is, this difference, or whether there are any differences between cultivars as far as I'm concerned. But I would guess, if I have to make a really guesstimate on this situation. But I'm not really a sort of specialist in any of these fields.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Jan. I think that concludes our questions.
May I add something
Yes,
which
please.
I slipped the first time? And the other one is, for new farmers, the basic problem also is weed control. That is a absolute major kind of problem. It ties in with what Dr. Lisa said in terms of disease, but surely it's going to cut down on your yield and on your profit. And if you sort of stick to the system of only sort of spraying, glyphosate just before flowering, and be satisfied with this, you are going to have a real problem towards the end of the growing season. So I would like to emphasize the weed control aspect. Keep in mind what I've said. It's American data, but like 2% yield decrease for every, if you have a real infestation of weed, it will have a serious effect on your bank balance.
Thank you very much. Any concluding remarks, Jane, from you, from Lisa?
Yes, I think one of the things that we underestimate is the value of seeing what other farmers in your area are doing. So particularly if you're a newcomer, have a look around and see what other people are doing, and there might be a good reason why they're doing it, and learn from each other, because we can make new mistakes, but let's not continue to make the same old mistakes over and over. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lisa.
No, I think I would like to say that there are some things we can also afford to unlearn. And going forward, I think for someone that's new in the academic world is to listen. And for us that are doing research is to listen to what is the need of the producer and how can we align the needs of the producer with the needs of industry and the consumer.
Okay, thank you.
I would say that soybeans is really a remarkable crop. It's a very intelligent crop, and I think in future that will play a major role in South African industry, and I'm really proud to be associated with soybeans.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank our three panelists for their contributions here today. You must know they will all be available, the contributions, but if you want to contact the people personally, you will have the address or the ability to do so through the website that will be there. So please feel free to contact them if you need any more information on the production of soybeans. To each and every one of you, I'd like to thank you very much, Jane. I've known you many years. You have a huge heart for people. You bring hope. And you know how to mobilize help for struggling people, and God bless you and good luck with that.
Thank you.
Lisa, for you, the energy and the enthusiasm you bring towards a difficult field, a very important field, as we have to increase production dramatically. We'll have to slay the Sclerotinia monster.
Yes.
So please sharpen your axe and sway it when it's necessary. And then Dr. Jan, to you, the wealth of experience you have, the knowledge, the wisdom over the years, your involvement. We really appreciate you. It's very nice to have you around and for the contribution you make towards increasing soybean production in this country. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we conclude this session. We are going to have a small break now, but at 11 o'clock sharp, the next session will start. So if you can come in again at 11 o'clock. Thank you very much.